at Twitch TV/JWP stream on YouTube at as soon as I figure it out. JWP Tube. Check me out on Facebook at JWP Meta. I'm also on Patreon at JWP Patreon. That's with 2 P's. Today I'm going to be looking at controls in SynthEdit. My caption's wrong. There. And we'll go vector controls. Let's say custom vector controls. So yes, looking at custom vector controls, I'm going to switch to SynthEdit. And I believe it's this button. Yes. And these are some of the controls I managed to come up with just using vector tools, specifically more the knob B, as it contains more elements than just the standard knob. I mean, the standard knob does have its fill. However, this knob B is an indicator. So knob 0 or A does have its benefits of the fill amount. I'm going to look at that later. But for now, I'm just going to take a look at some of these guys. So we can zoom all the way in here and it's redrawn. There's no blockiness. There is some striping with the gradients, which is expected. And as you can see, it's a composition of many different pieces. So these do take a while to make. And it's not limited to what you see here. I mean, imagination is, looks like I got two of the same thing. Imagination is the limit. So yeah, these two are the same, it looks like. Unfortunately, this was actually supposed to just be this color. So let's see if we can make that. So I'll go ahead, and I want to come back here for reference, however, so I'm just going to make a new container and we'll give it a float. I just want my float. That's irrelevant for what we're doing here. So generally I like to start out with the backing. And we'll just get rid of the foreground. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that's completely gone now. That's just a black background. Again, I'm just using black and some gray. These can be any color. Perhaps we'll make this one red, I suppose. And we're just doing something real simple here. And then I want the next layer, which would be, I suppose, just the indicator. And then, well, that'll sit on another layer, which is the inside. So this actually needs to be connected to animation position in order for it to work. And this guy will be another layer. So what I want to do, actually I'm going to change this to a bit lighter of a color, so we'll go FF and then 9s, just so we can distinguish the difference here. So then we got 3 regular basic components I'm going to build from the middle. get it to snap the grid and do some counting here. So we'll do, not even 100% sure how big I want to make it. It starts at 4, so 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. 32 looks good, and the bottom is a little bit irrelevant. You just shrink it back and down one and then up one. So I'm not sure that's going to line up because it's, yeah, it does line up. So it is symmetrical. So we'll just plop this guy down and we should be able to resize to that size without having to count. Now what we want to do here is turn off the grid. So we're going to edit and we'll go snap the grid and then we'll zoom right in. And we need sort of a pixel or a vector measure on each side. So we'll go 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we can move it over with nudging it. Or actually we'll do the top first. So 1, 2, and then we can nudge left and down. Then we got a nice border. And we'll hop into this guy. And we'll turn our grid back on. So it's a lot of turning on and off the grid. And we'll place it here. Of course, it's not snapped to canvas. And we'll bring it to the front. So right click, arrange, move to front. And we're going to turn the background on just for a moment here. We'll actually change the color. So we'll make it, say, red. So FF, and we got red now. And as far as like the background or the foreground, doesn't really matter. We'll line it up with the background border. Get it to layers directly over top, and again turn off the grid and we'll pull it, zoom in here, we'll pull it 1, 2, and 1, 2, and then nudge and nudge. And so doing this actually puts us, I believe, actually it should still be in a even number. I was worried it might be an odd number, but that would only be if we pulled out 1. So then we can turn off the background again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we have 3 different layers. So it's not, you don't necessarily have to split it into 3 layers. I'm just doing that in case I get some ideas. I'm actually pretty dry on creativity right now. So what I want to do, I suppose, is if we look at this other one here, we can see that it's it's got this ring, and then it starts again. So let's get rid of this ring and we'll make it just this notch here. And we'll do that by adding another layer. And we'll turn the grid back on here. And we'll size it up again. And however, this time we'll snap it into grid. And this time we'll go 1, 2, and 1, 2. And then we'll move it over top. And as we can see, now we have just the indicator. And it looks almost like that part's gone. And we don't have to worry about hiding this, because if we try to click here, right, we're not going to be able to move that. That's fine. This isn't where we want to click anyway. This isn't our hot spot. We'll deal with that later. Or for now, we want to colorize it. We'll give it some depth. In fact, maybe we'll, as I was saying, we'll color it now. So it's red, green, blue. So we'll go blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And now we have a bit of blue happening. Looks like I clicked the wrong one. No, I didn't. In fact, why? Okay, so I'm actually on the foreground, which I want this one. We'll make that blue as well. So FF00FF. And I forgot my chat dialog here, so I'm going to close this. And I need to open my streaming tools. So S. Stream helpers. Yes. Is. So if anybody was chatting, which it's highly doubtful, unregistered, that's fine. Okay, why? Because there's one already open. So I can take a hike, but where is my dialog? There it is. Okay, so I want my Chrome window back. And I'm gonna have to sign in, but I can do that later, I suppose. The live push. What's important now is the stream. And why do I have a bunch of windows? Okay, I don't really care about that one. Alright. So blue. Darker blue. And the colors do have to match otherwise, so I can play with the colors a bit later. As it is with vectors, it is limited on certain things. Such as the gradients. If we do too close to gradients, we'll get an ugly, sort of an ugly banded gradient. And in order to do a gradient, we can't use the angle bees and stuff because they only have one color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a rectangle. And we're going to turn up the corners. I think 50 should be sufficient. And this is going to act as our gradient. So I do actually have a thread in groups.io. So we're going to go there. And we're going to go search, and we're going to go striping, I believe. Striping. Maximizing GUI, maximizing the rectangle's transparency without striping. So, view all. And I got some numbers here. So, top, bottom, swappable. Best dark gray, I believe it's this one. So 01 FFF and 7000. So 01 FFFFF, which is a light. And then the bottom is 77, which is a black. Just want to make sure I got them right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. I don't remember 100% if this is the way to do it. I'll find out in a moment. And then what we do is we add another one and we switch them around. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then the bottom color is a 01, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that we have those, what we do is we place them over top. And we get a nice, I need a backdrop here. Let's get a backdrop happening. Just because that blue is kind of clashing with what's going on currently. Now we'll push that to the back. And pull this in. Of course, it's going to give me a hard time. So 1 and 1. And it looks like we're going to have to manually line things up here. However, if we overlay two of them together, we get a nice sort of faded gradient. Except we got to get the sizing right. As we can see, it is accurate size. We'll pull it over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wait, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll grab this other one. I said the other one, right from the corner here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it's a little foggy. Perhaps we could bring it in so we can, exclude that border so we have a nice sharp border. So we're going to turn off. We're going to turn off Snap the Grid, and we're going to go 1, 2, and 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, I think I messed up one there. Maybe just 1. Yeah, that's right, just 1. And it actually looks like the other one isn't doing too bad, but it is in fact still there. So let's figure out which one it is here. We gotta grab the window by the side here. Again, window by the side because there's no window management tools in SynthEdit. And I'm not sure which is which. We'll try go 1, 2, and 1, 2. Move it over 1 and down 1. There, that was the right one. So now we have a nice sharp black edge there. Of course, it's still a bit foggy. There's not really anything you can do about that, as yeah, like our white there is kind of a bit dull. But that's as good as it gets, really. We could reel it in a bit more, however, it's not a good idea. I'm actually going to go over here and take a look at the previous works I've had. See, these kind of do the same thing, however, because they're layered like this one sits on top of that one, because this one's on top of this one. So yeah, what's important though is that you kind of hide the middle. If you're going to do something like this, is you got to hide the middle. So this is just a general fade. I'm not sure there's any way around it. It just has to be dull. For the final touches though, what's important is that we add another vector knob here. We'll bring it over, place it on top, and this in fact will be our response. This is the one that sits on the very top and does the response. And we do that, the foreground is 0, but this one is 0, 1. We'll actually leave it at 9, 9 for now, just so we can see it. And then we'll lay it over top. And we'll snap it around because we want to maximize its coverage. Make sure that it is in fact, the full size. And then once it's on top, we'll make sure it's right in front. Arrange, move to front. And we will go 0, 1. Now it doesn't matter where we click, even the idle ones, we still get a response. And that's quite important. So it's just a pretty generic knob. I mean, imagination is your limitation in this situation. That wasn't meant to rhyme so many times. Yeah. So that's a starting point. Also, I imagine if we flip these colors, no, that won't work. But there is a way to change the shade here. It looks like I actually did this wrong. This top guy is supposed to be F's. Yeah. So maybe it's, a bit brighter now. A bit more of a fade. And if you did want to turn it down, you can turn it down so it's not so glaringly obvious. It's a bit more of a fade. However, you can see we're starting to get a bit of banding in there. At a distance, it's not so bad, but when you're on a 4K monitor, you kind of want to maximize your appeal. I lost my chat box again. There it is. Right, so additionally, we can flip these around. So I do believe we go white here. And again, we flip it. I could be wrong. No, we do have a bit more of a outside light opposed to the inside light. However, it does kind of look like a bit like a funny color. So maybe we can turn it down and get less of a glare. But again, that comes with banding. It's actually not too bad. I mean, in a 4K screen, the maximum resolution is only 1, 2, 3, 4 times at the most. So we're still maximizing, your color usage and your definition. You can't really see some banding on this scale. Alright, so the other opportunity here is to use font curves. And in order to do that, we need to do some opening and closing of SynthEdit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to prep here. A bit of prep, and we've got to find our characters that we want to use. And well, I guess we could just use this. However, we are going to want to change to the ring. As I mentioned earlier, it does have its advantages. We could still use this one. We can demonstrate this one for now. However, there's options. So I'm just going to go private. And we're going to call this style symbol. Small. Doesn't really matter. However, I prefer to use the small. And now that's done, I'm just going to save this. And I'm going to hop into the character map, so CHAR, pull up the character map, and this is the one we want here, I do believe, is the MS Gothic. Just the regular MS Gothic. So this is really the only one that shows up in SynthEdit. Wingdings and the other symbolic ones don't. And we have some options here. We have stuff like this. And what this will do, it'll split the circle into various pieces. So for instance, one of the ones that seem to work best is this one here, which is called 16-point asterisk. And we'll drop that in here. Paste. Enter. And it looks like it actually works. I don't even have to switch to don't even have to define the MS Gothic in the global. However, we are still going to do that. And we have to dig deep here. Actually, it's right here. I have it, but it is just to demonstrate. Go C, and then we go users, and then my user. No, actually public. The skins are in public, so we'll go public documents, SynthEdit projects, and skins. And right now I'm using my SSE guitar, and we want the global file. So we'll click anything, and we'll push G. It'll land us on global. Hit enter, and we are now in the global file. I haven't really edited this at all, I don't think. Yeah, I got a few things here. So it looks like I got small symbols, which is already using the MS Gothic, so I'm just going to copy that. I don't remember where I've used that in my current project, however. I'm just going to continue along, and we'll just call this symbol SYMBOL. And we got to play with the font size at this point. So for, say, if you have different size controls, you're going to want to make different symbol sizes as well. So we'll start with about 32. Center MS Gothic, and we'll save. We'll head back to SynthEdit, and we'll save this. And we're going to have to close it, and then we're going to reopen it. And that didn't work. Symbol. Did I not save this? I'm sure I did. Okay, because it doesn't actually show up on here. We have to go to panel edit. Oh no, we're in panel edit. Maybe we gotta refresh it? No. I must have messed something up here. Because that's too small. That doesn't look like 32. But yeah, like I said, we're going to be opening and closing SynthEdit quite a bit. So we'll try 64. And that's for sure saved. Reopen it. No, it's not responding. And I don't know why. Maybe MS Gothic has to be in quotations. Save. Close. Close this again. Reopen SynthEdit. I'm just going to pin SynthEdit so I don't have to keep digging through my start menu here. Pin to taskbar. No, it's not responding and I'm not sure why. Alright, let's go to fonts and see if we can find the system name for MS Gothic. Okay, it says MS Gothic. So I'm not sure why it's not responding. That is the one that works though. Symbol. Weird. Gotta love when my streams don't go as planned. Am I in the right thing? Yes, the scene. Yes. Skin. No, I was on the wrong one. That's why. Duh. Okay, there it is. Alright, and it's centered, so we want to center it. Of course, it's not going to line up for us. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can just match what's there, right? That's too big by 1. Shrink this down. And we're almost there. It looks like we're maybe about 16 away. So we're going to save. And then we're going to head back and close that. Actually, no, I wanted to keep that open so we can experiment with different symbols. However, my quickness didn't help that. So we're at about 16 away. So it's 70, 80. 80 should be good. Right click and open our last one. And we're off by a little bit here. So come up one. And it still looks like we're too small. Maybe the border is chopping it out. No, it's still a little bit too small. So maybe 8 more. We'll go 88. And close, save, yes. Right click and vectors control demo. And it looks like we're just in there, if not over. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. And yeah, we're just in there. So as you can see, as I resize, the font curves retain, they redraw. So no matter how much you zoom in, we're always going to get a crisp image. And I'm going to head in here, and then we're going to bring our fades to the front. So we're going to go arrange, move to front, arrange, move to front, and now our funny graphic is looking good, sort of. I mean, like I said, it's imagination is the limitation. And then we bring our response level even higher. So now that we have this small guy bouncing around inside of this curve. I mean, that doesn't look great. What else we can do here is we got to remember our order. So I believe this guy's a smaller one. We can bring that to the front. And then we bring this to the front. And then this to the front. And then our top layer as well. We'll put it in order here that we want to stack. We'll bring that to the front. And now we have a bit of a design. Perhaps we can change the colors. I mean, we can probably make that a blue. So we're going to save. We're going to X that. We're going to head back to global and we'll go font color. I do believe this one's backwards. Colors are blue, green, red. Yeah, so they are backwards. Low FF0000. Let's save. And then I don't think that's actually going to do anything though, because it's just going to line up with the blue, right? Yeah, I mean, it's got some design in it, and it is scalable. Gives it a little bit of flavor, sort of. I mean, got to do it yourself, really. Play around with things and get where you want. This is just me demonstrating. And this isn't such a great demonstration. What I want to do is bring in the ring, right? Because that's kind of more appropriate for this situation. So we'll bring in the vector now, bring, and we'll get rid of the background. Oh no, we want to keep the background. We're going to get rid of the foreground. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And now when it draws, it's going to draw. Maybe it's the background we want to get rid of. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we'll make it red. So red, green, blue, right? 2. So FF 1, 2, 1, 2. And then as we increase the size, if it ever wants to respond, I'm not sure what's going on here. It's still giving me blank. Oh, because the foreground doesn't have any color. There, now we should get some red. Yes, so let's remove the background again, and as we click hit respond, it's filling up with the red, right? We can put that here. We'll size it up. Two, go around there. You gotta remember to until it's mode shrinking, okay? Right before it shrinks. We'll put it in place, and we gotta remember that we are a couple pixels off our vector measures. I don't even know what the name of a vector measure is, and my chat is gone again. We'll go 1, 2, and 1, 2, just so it sits inside that border. And then we can perhaps hide this, because when you want to hide it, let's go 0, 0. And we'll bring this in order. Maybe it can sit underneath here. We'll flip things over. And of course, within the old layout, 1, 2, put that there. And we'll start stacking again. So we'll bring this arranged to the front, to the front, to the front. Where does my chat keep going? I need that to say turbo top. That's what the problem is here. There. Alright, so now we have sort of a red ring that fills. And it's supposed to get collapsed on by the blue. That's our problem here, is this font has to be on top. Move to front, move to front, and move to front, move to front. Okay. And it's still not on top. Maybe I have to reload? No. Not sure what the problem is. Because this should be underneath. So we'll arrange, move to back. We'll just totally bury it. Okay, so it's totally gone. Now let's restack everything here. We'll go arrange, move to front. What is this? Oh, that was the original indicator, right? So that should put a ring on top. Okay, now this is supposed to lay on top of that. There it is. So now we can start to get somewhat of a interesting design happening. However, this needs to sit on top of everything. And then this is in the wrong order. This needs to come over here. Oops. And we'll give it some gradient and our response. Right, so it is a little foggy. Like I said, you got to play around with the gradients. You can shrink them down to maybe just this, the inner ring, so we have a nice bright outer ring. We'll do that. Oops, I guess I need the grid. It is definitely a little hard to see. And I do believe it is off the grid. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Something's not right there. One, two, three, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This one. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh yeah, the other sides are currently off the grid as well. Let's get everything on the grid. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I mean, it's pretty bright and vibrant. I could probably expand it by 2. So we'll go turn off the grid. We'll go. Oh, that's the wrong one. 1, 2, and 1, 2. Move it up 1, right 1, left 1 rather. 1, 2, and 1, 2, up and left. And we got somewhat of a reasonable design. I mean, it's not cutting edge masterpiece, but it's, you know, it's a custom. You can even add another border inside there if you wanted to give it a bit more sharpness. And you can also play around with the gradients too. So remember how when we first started out, we kind of had the red on the, you know, the black and stuff, and could probably do that. And we'll give it the kind of the opposite gradient. Actually, I'll just move on because time is finite. As far as covering up these bottom ones, it's not really possible. You're just gonna have to deal with that, I suppose. I mean, you could do the indicators. You could bring back in the indicator and then just kind of bury those ones. You'd need 3 indicators to bury that. It's by making them blue, right? Oops. And you'd have to exceed the standard. Oops, wrong one. I want the foreground. But yeah, you'd have to exceed its limitation. So move it to the front. Restack everything in my phone. Of course, right when like I'm doing something, man. All day. Nobody messages me, but when I'm in, you know, a stream, it's like perfect timing. You could see our indicator kind of leads it. You could probably make that like green or something, I'm not sure. But it's still viable. But if we could want to, we could take the indicator and just as an example of covering one, I mean, we wouldn't want to cover that one, but if we did in fact want to cover one, we can make it the blue. Red, green, blue, so 0, 0, 0, 0, 9, 9. And then we'd restack these guys on top of that. Actually, we got to bring this one forward as well. And then, yeah, now the indicator will bury one of them. It needs to be expanded to the edge, but you get the idea. It kind of hides the individual ones. And if you wanted these 3, like I said, you'd have to push the animation position past its viable point. We do that by inserting in a converter or a, yeah, I believe it's under conversion. And that would be, you could either use the float function or the float scalar. In this case, I'm going to use the float scalar. So we'll value in to the animation position. And there, we'll value in. This is just an example. I don't know exactly how much you need to add, but I'm going to add 2. And that should put, oh, that's a value in 2. I don't want that. Let's just erase that. Add 0.2. And yeah, now we're out of bounds kind of thing. And we're covering parts that the indicator normally shouldn't be able to reach. And as you can see, if you took 3 of those, you line them up over top, you'd get rid of the 3 extra. It's a lot of work, but then again, raster graphics, you put a lot of time into raster graphics, designing and stitching. So, and there's no stitching here. It is resizable. It's always going to be a sharp image. And these are the ones I had earlier. See, this one is just a bunch of indicators. Each one of those is an indicator offset. you know, with the add, with the float scaler or the float function. Add a little bit and then move them around. It gives kind of a jagged edge. It's an interesting one. And this one was kind of a time-consuming creation. There was a lot of trial and error. And this little area here is actually a light. See if I can turn that on here. Of course, I got all this stuff happening. I don't know if I'm going to be able to turn it on. Should be a switch over here. There it is. Okay, so I want to switch this using, where's it going here? No, man. Perhaps we can just turn it on manually here. So we'll just unblock that and we'll just say controls on parent and it should be running now. Yeah, there it is. So as we can see on the top layer, it's the light is indicating something's active. I mean, it's, you know, not the greatest work of art or whatever. It is vector art. So, but I mean, it's good. It's decent. A lot of modern software is going into vector. And if we increase to go 1, 2, 3, 4, we still kind of got, you know, a reasonable definition. You can kind of see it, but when you're on a big screen and stuff, it's not too bad. I'm not sure we could get smaller. I mean, that we see the orange here, and then we see the next ring past that. That's the definition level we can get down to. The one vector measure. So you could spend a lot of time building each level of the fade or the lighting effect. However, I found that was fine. I mean, it looks fine at first glance. Plus, it's not really gonna be. It's gonna look this big, but the definition of it is gonna be this much. So yeah, that's done for the creation using vector art. So I will be ending this part of the stream here. I will continue into a intermediate topic of using raster graphics to have a resize value. Normally the raster doesn't with the standard control image control somewhere. Image 2 doesn't in fact resize. So we can see it gets blocky and chunky. So yes, until next time.